Hare Krishna, sweet people. Welcome to the Soul Ashraya podcast, a weekly bhakti podcast. We will seek the shelter and wisdom of our dear Lord Krishna with Shastra, prayer, and conversation. I'm your host, Bhakti Jake. I'm here with my friend, Balaram Shakti Das. Hey, Balaram, you know what I just found out today?
What's that?
I found out that Balaram's appearance day is on the way. It's coming
Yeah,
soon.
this Wednesday.
Yes, my very dear and close friend and sweet friend, Bhakti Rebecca, made me a list of all the Ekadasis and holidays, and I noticed that one.
Nice. Huh. You also know it's today's Ekadasi then.
Oh yeah, yeah, I did notice that too. I I am I know that it's Ekadasi. I just don't understand like what each one is about. I know it's like a holiday and you like don't eat or eat only certain things. There's so many different ones. I'm still catching on. Like, do you know what today's is about? I actually just got a notification from the Vaishnav calendar, like right now before we started the show, about the Ekadasi that there's one today and one tomorrow, or isn't it the same one?
Just today.
Just today. Okay.
The notification for tomorrow is for breaking the fast.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, yeah, it says reminder for Tuesday. So that's when you take it?
Mm.
Oh, no. Okay. Uh,
No,
Cat,
so yeah, there's Ekadasi, which is a fasting day. For those who aren't familiar, Ekadasi means 11. So it's the 11th day of each lunar cycle, which
yeah,
is the waxing and waning of the
yeah,
moon. So
right. Yeah.
11 days of waxing, you're a few days before the full moon, there is a fast day. Same thing with the waning moon. A few days before the new moon, there's a fasting day. And yeah, there's a different name. Each one has a different name, throughout the year. There's, you know, 24, let's say about 24, give or take. Like this year, I guess there's more because it's a leap year, so to speak. Anyway, they have different, like, there's a story behind each one. Like we had spoken about, Vaishnava holidays before, right? And how we're connecting with a uh, personality who has a personal relationship with Krishna, and that's like a window into the spiritual world, sort of thing. So there's every holiday has a story. Mukunda Das, Hare Krishna, welcome.
Hare Krishna Mukunda. So nice to see you. Thank you for joining.
So there's a different story, and there's different like vratas or vows that people can take for each one that get really far out and like fanatical, but we don't really do that. Um, that's like traditional Hindu culture, whatever, might do that, but for the like Sanatan Dharma of chanting the holy names, that itself is sufficient. Like, how do you say, like sacrifice? Like the best sacrifice. The idea is like, if you don't have the holy name, like these in past ages, these are things that you can do to make the most of that holy day, of that fasting day. And you can do certain things like only eat off of a banana leaf, you know, or give ghee to a priest. You know, there's certain things that you can do. Um, or yeah. Um, but they're different sacrifices, right? Just sacrifice means to make sacred, right? So holy day we're trying to make sacred. And so how do we make our lives sacred? The best sacrifice, the highest sacrifice is to chant God's holy names,
That's
right?
the complete sacrifice right there. That's yeah.
So if you're doing that, it's like um what's a you think of a good analogy, like you're doing something so complete, like you have the opportunity to do something like very complete, and you do some like you kind of instead of doing that you do something like very small and insignificant. um you know, like the only example I can think of is like giving $1 million in charity, and instead like giving like ones and fives. It's like, well, how would you know, that's like nothing. You think, well, no, there's like more, or like $100 bill versus like a, a bunch of ones. It's like there's more bills here. I'm doing more. It's like, no, you're not. You know, that one bill is worth a lot more.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so like doing this one thing, chanting Hare Krishna, it's a not a great analogy, but it's doing so much more, but it might not look like it on the outside. For people who don't know the potency of the holy name, it's like, you know, what are all these little rituals that I can do? Because that's seems like there'd be more potency in that, um, but that's not the case. Uh, so those are like little details, and they might be interesting, and some people might do them, and that's nice. But if so long as it doesn't take away from your chanting, that's fine. But you're doing everything just by doing the chanting. And the fasting itself is always obligatory. It's an obligatory fast day. And it doesn't mean that you have to do a full fast, because due to our livelihoods, that might not be practical or even possible. Um, but at least not eating grains and beans is the injunction. You know, so Ekadasi, no beans, no grains on this day. And if you want to learn more about that, you can look it up on YouTube. There's some very educational videos. But it has to do with the passage of the moon and how that interacts with grains. I'm not an expert, but there is
No.
a connection. It is scientific.
Is there like corn is considered to be a grain, right?
Yeah.
Uh, no.
I just found out last night though, corn syrup is not from the actual corn grain, it's from the stalk. So you can still
Uh,
have corn syrup.
my
I'm
aunt
sure you
just gave me like a bunch of corn. Like yeah.
have heard
Like,
too much.
well, here you go. Yeah. They're like, oh, Jake, you're a vegetarian. You'll eat all this corn. Here you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Now is the time when all the corn is coming up. It's like on, and it's like corn everywhere around here in this area. Everyone has a little stand on the side of the road, and they're all selling sweet corn everywhere. So, okay, it's not like the end of the world if I didn't know that, right? It's not
And you
like,
had corn this morning?
yeah, last night I didn't know.
Last night or this
Like
morning?
both
Well,
because they gave me
the fasting, okay, well it's from sunrise to sunrise. So sunrise today
okay, okay,
to sunrise tomorrow
okay,
is Ekadasi.
okay.
So if it was like 3 in the morning, that's still last night. But if it
Right.
was breakfast this morning, that's this morning.
So good. It's the best corn you'll ever have. I
I
swear. It's
know.
so good.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I didn't.
It
Dude,
doesn't justify.
feeling. I had this feeling in my mouth. mind, like, I know Ekadasi, but I don't know, like, is this a thing? Because I've heard it's like just beans and grains, or like beans and legumes, are, and it's not like I can just be on my phone 24/7 and look up, oh, what's Ekadasi? Blah, 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 blah. Well,
No, it's not something you
I
need to be on
guess.
24/7. It's something that over the
I guess
months and
purges.
years you'll know.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a Ekadasi. You know,
Okay.
soy
So
products, not a
the
Ekadasi.
the full moon is considered to be auspicious, right?
Uh, according to what?
According to the Ekadasi, because that it's like 11 days until the moon gets small, and then 11 days until it gets big again, right? That's, am I thinking of this in the right way? Right? It's
I
like
don't know.
it goes from being full down to the new moon, and then from the new moon up to being full again. And that's
Yes,
like 11 days. So,
14 days.
oh, right. See, I should know this all. This is how far away from nature we are as modern men. We don't even know about the moon cycle anymore. This is not right. So I'm just trying to get a grip on this Ekadasi, and really start doing it, because now I'm getting far enough along where it is becoming a thing. And I do believe that fasting, number one, does have number one health benefits, but also, like you were saying before, there's Vedic science to it, where it is better for you. Like, it's good for your body to stop taking in certain things at certain times. Like, some of these Vedic cookbooks and stuff like that are just amazing. Just
Oh man, yeah,
so,
Ayurvedic.
oh my goodness, they're so smart. And I've started to follow some of these principles, using a lot of turmeric. Obviously vegetarian, like 100% vegetarian. And man, it's just amazing what it can do for you, for your health. It, they really knew what they were talking about. I believe that completely now. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, Vedas
I'm
are
trying.
axiomatic. Yeah, yeah. So I the full moon is probably not auspicious. I don't know. I mean, well, there's a point that came up as you were speaking for me, that because the full moon is always associated with like full emotions, right? It's like high tide, like internally as well. That's very much a thing. Like our body is 70% water, so the moon is directly um affecting water, bodies of water, right? Okay, there's correlations there,
Yeah.
right? That everyone, if you tune into that, you'll notice like your emotions are like more at like a peak on full moon, right? It's not a good day to just do things whimsically, right? Um, like out at in the bars that night, like probably there's gonna be more fights on like full moon night. Just like tensions are higher.
They
So
say more babies are born on a full moon.
interesting. So the
Yeah, that's what
fasting,
I've always heard.
huh, okay. So fasting around the full moon is very helpful, and it's more difficult. You'll notice like the full moon Ekadasi is more difficult than the new moon Ekadasi. It's just like internal struggles get like amplified during that time. And that's the whole water thing. Like whatever like internal like
Yeah.
things you have going on that you're working with, like each moon cycle kind of brings you through that. And for the woman, you know, what occurs with that is, you know, purging, you know, and so the woman will be going through this like internal thing, and the menstruation is a sort of mechanism to work through it and to let it all go, you know. And if you don't let it all go, I mean, I'm not a woman obviously, but a previous girlfriend was very like educated with this, like very, you know, studied this deeply. um you know, that if you don't know how to let it go, it will be like a very difficult process, you know. And then the, you know, menstrual syndrome will affect you more, you know. And it just kind of makes sense. It's been a long time since I've heard that, so I don't know if I could speak any more to that. Does that make sense, Rebecca? Am I making sense?
Yeah, that really does make a lot of sense.
Right, like you can imagine, I mean, imagine if like if there's something that you have going on and your body is saying, let's let this go. And you're like, no, or like, I don't know how to deal, I don't know how to process this. And then it's like something leaves, but then something remains that shouldn't. And it's like, and then you're left like drained. Um, and you're just like, you know, and then the full moon, where I guess, you know, different each one. So most are generally a woman will align with either the full moon or the new moon to have their cycle. Um, it's kind of interesting like that. But then, you know, the other side of the spectrum, you know, you feel very full of life, and but that cycle is meant to help you, you know, work through stuff. So, but for men as well, you know, for all of us, the moon is affecting us. Although for men, that cycle is solar, you know, because the lunar is feminine to the sun, which is masculine. So men go through like a yearly cycle that's like, that correlates with that response. But it's an opportunity. So the Ekadasi is very nice because it's a fasting day and it's scientific with this lunar cycle that says you're going to be going through a lot on this day. So here's an opportunity to purge. Here's an opportunity to fast and to process things on a subconscious level, right? That if you eat grains, you won't be able to do that. You just won't.
Okay.
You know?
So it is based on like an actual health advisory, not just like a religious, you know,
It's both.
just
Yeah.
from these things because we say so religiously. There is actually meaning behind it.
Well, there's meaning behind religious things too. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like they're not just like you know, well, we got to fast from something, so let's just pick something to fast from. There is actually like
Yeah, that
it
wouldn't
is
make
not
sense.
only
Yeah.
there is a spiritual and a scientific element working together on these codices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would say there's a spiritual and scientific thing working together for everything. You know, yeah, especially in the Vedic tradition, there's nothing nonsense. There's no, there's nothing like
Mm,
nonsensical or just totally dogmatic. Like,
yeah.
what would be the purpose of that? The original culture has, you know, everything makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Very good.
real
Mm,
benefit you're gonna get is like a full fast.
mm.
Uh, yeah, so there's a thought that was there. Just missed it, but the minimum is no
Yeah.
grains of beans because that will really affect. It's like those. So if I remember correctly, it's the idea like food carries information, right? There's information and energy in the food, and like this lunar cycle is helping us process energy and information. So the idea is we need to process that in order for spiritual growth to occur. Because if we're stuck in the noise of the energy and information, we won't have the clarity of the sattva guna, the mode of goodness, which is characterized by clarity, in order to progress spiritually and connect spiritually, because we're kind of stuck in, system processing, right? So each month, and so again, men and women have different biologies to deal with this, right? But we're all affected by the lunar cycle, and we all have to process these energies. And grains carry, like, let's just say grains as a category, right? And as you progress in Krishna consciousness and like stay with the program, you'll learn what are grains and beans, right? Like what the Ayurveda defines. And even that, like, there's some people that say, oh, there's no mustard greens, or mustard seeds rather. It's like, well, it's a seed. It's like, no mustard. It's like, okay, no mustard, whatever. There's different opinions based on like the region that people are from. Grains and beans make you retain water. That's a really nice point. Yeah. So there's like water retention with that, and informational, and with that comes informational and emotional retention as well. But there's an interesting phenomena where on the Ekadasi day, it's like, instead of just being like one day's worth of information and energy, it's a whole month. So it's like, if you have a cooked grain on Ekadasi, it will be like you're eating a month-old grain. And so, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I remember, I've heard something like that. So it's like, you don't want to eat that, because it's going to have so much stuff in there that's going to kind of bog you down energetically. Whereas if you abstain from that, then you'll be very clear. What to speak of if you abstain from all solid food altogether, or at least all. Yeah, and there's different levels of fasting you can do. Like, at least, no grains, beans, that's like baseline. No cooked food. Only fruits and or milk. Only juice. Only water. Only air. I don't think anyone can go further than that. Yeah.
Whoa.
Unless they're Dhruva. Dhruva eventually, he did this same thing when he was instructed by Narada to meditate on the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, which we chant every day on the show. To start with, to kind of start, by taking out cooked foods. He was just eating like roots and bark or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And then like little fruits, then water, then just air, and then nothing. Like, he wasn't even breathing, because he was controlling the pranayama within his body and just meditating on the mantra, and the holy name itself was sustaining him energetically. And his meditation and austerity was so powerful that the air of the whole universe was like getting constricted, and like the demigods weren't able to breathe. It's like powerful, man. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, like that, you can derive more. So what's the point of that? What's the bottom line of that? Dhruva was getting more and more nourishment and sustenance from the holy name. So the purpose of Ekadasi, it's like, okay, yeah, you can get really technical. We've taken some time here. Hopefully this was helpful or informative at least. That you can get really technical into it. You can split hairs with like what you should or shouldn't eat. But what's the real point of all of it? You get more nourishment from the holy name. We're getting, human being is nourished by grains. It's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, right? We get nourishment by grains, but that nourishment is influenced, or it's subjected to the modes of material nature, right? So the mode of nature that those grains are carry is going to inform your intelligence, and it's going to color your consciousness. So on Ekadasi, those grains are colored very heavily, so you don't want to take those in. It's said that I've heard it's tantamount to eating sin on Ekadasi, which you don't want to eat that, right? But the other thing, the other thing
Yeah.
is, because we're talking about the modes coloring the food, right? Or, carrying a certain charge. When we offer our food to Krishna, then it's no longer in the modes of material nature. It's totally spiritualized. And that's the magic
Okay.
of Krishna consciousness.
So I can take that ear of corn and offer it to Krishna, and then it's okay.
Yeah, but on Ekadasi, Krishna doesn't eat corn. Krishna follows Ekadasi.
Oh, well,
See,
I guess
it's
it's good.
not something that we can offer to Krishna.
See, this
On
is why
Ekadasi.
we do this show. This is why we do this show. So newbies like me stop eating all the sweet corn that their family gave them on Ekadasis.
Good. Yeah. But generally,
Why we do this
Krishna
show.
will eat that up. Krishna will totally eat that up, just not on Ekadasi. So, but when the Bhagavad Gita says those who do not offer their food to the Lord verily eat only sin. Why? Right? Do you think you have an understanding of why that is?
Oh yeah.
You want to try to explain it?
Yeah, it's because you are supposed to be um, doing something and you're not doing it. So I guess the definition of sin is missing the mark.
Hmm.
So you know that you're supposed to be doing something, or else in my case you kind of know, but you don't really know. You think you know, so you're still like, yeah.
So that's you that's sinning, but that doesn't explain the food being sin.
Oh,
Like, you're eating sin, like, not that you are sinning by eating. Yeah. So yes, unless offered, the food is still affected by the modes. That's what I was looking for.
oh,
Very nice, Rebecca.
yeah. There you go.
So it has the modes in it. So if it's not offered, it's charged with the material modes, and those modes are affected by passion, ignorance, which means sin. It's going to bring your consciousness down into sinful reaction, and you're going to get sinful reactions from that, because the food
Okay.
is carrying that karma, right? The karma of, you did something you're not supposed to. These people are doing something they're not supposed to. They're producing food and not offering their work to Krishna. So by partaking of food of sinful people, we partake in that sin as well. If we offer the food, then it completely changes it. It becomes spiritualized. It's no longer material food affected by the energy and consciousness of material modes. Right. This is a really nice point. I don't know if we've
No,
taken
this is a very good
time to
point.
get into that,
Yeah,
but
I mean, this could be a whole
your
thing. I
food
mean,
carries consciousness.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not
it
just
really
eat
does.
whatever you want. Like this is again, this is another symptom of the age. You know, there's a complete total disconnect between like everything, like internal and external. Like what I do on my own time has no bearing on anything external or vice versa. You know, if I choose to be a meat eater, that's my choice. If I choose to follow this religion or that dogma or do this, has nothing to do with anything else. You know, who I am when no one is watching has nothing to do with who I am when I'm with other people. What? How can you say that? You know, that's atheism. There is no such thing as, you know, a time or place when no one is watching. It's like that classic fable or adage, whatever, from the Vedic tradition of, you know, guru has two disciples and he tells them each, he gives each of them a chicken. Obviously, it's not a Vaishnava guru. So he wouldn't tell his students to do this, but he said, take this chicken and go somewhere where no one is looking and kill the chicken, right? Somewhere no one's looking, kill the chicken. So the first one's like, easy. I just have to go behind a shed somewhere, boom, done. You know, returns to his master, you know, mission completed. The other disciple goes all around town, comes back. I was not successful in finding a place where no one was looking. And the master's like, why? He's like, everywhere I went, I was still there. I still saw, you know. So it's a good analogy for the presence of the super soul. No matter where you go, super soul is always witnessing your activities. It's not like, well, now I'm in a private place, I can do whatever I want, you know, eat whatever I want. And you know, and then like the pharmaceutical, you know, industry, that whole industry complex is mirroring this consciousness that you don't have to change what you put in your body. That's not affecting your health. No, it's just, who knows, disease just happens and, oh, take this pill, that'll take care of it. That's why diseases are there, because you're not taking your pills, you know. It's like, does maybe it has something to do with eating all of the garbage, you know, that I put in my body? No, that couldn't be it. You don't have to change, you don't have to change your lifestyle. No, so the real science, this is real science. This is Ayurveda, this is real science. Veda means science, you know, scientific knowledge. You know, Ayur means life. It's the science of life, is that these things have an effect on our consciousness. And these grains and beans, they really have an effect. It's like, you know, so yeah, the consciousness of the people that prepare your food, you eat that. So for a devotee, we don't want to eat anything prepared by a consciousness that is not devotional, of I'm making this food for the pleasure of the Lord and all of his living entities by extension, you know, but directly for the pleasure of the Lord. It's like, it's, you know, a mother when she cooks for her children, she's not, she's thinking in this kind of devotional consciousness for her children, like I'm making this with love out for my children, out of love for my children. Maybe it's out of love for God, but and this is the closest thing to that, right? It's made with love, but it's like, that's not pure love. It's very close to pure love, but pure love is I'm making this for God, and secondhand of that is we're all going to enjoy that. That's a subtle point, but it's totally different from like someone at McDonald's just like slaving away. I don't care if anyone enjoys this. I'm just trying to get my paycheck, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
So
I won't eat at any place anymore, like any restaurant anymore at all. I just won't do it.
This is the point for someone. Devotee means someone who's becoming conscious of Krishna, but anyone who's raising their consciousness, what to speak of to that degree, you're going to be more sensitive to these energies, particularly in food. It's becoming more conscious means becoming more sensitive to the energy that you are imbibing. So the Krishna conscious devotee is the most sensitive. If you want to expand your consciousness, if you want to elevate your consciousness, worship Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, take Krishna prasadam. This is the most refined consciousness. It's Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead. There is no higher consciousness in that. But this point, so you have someone cooking at McDonald's, you have a mother cooking for her children, and then you have a devotee, a priest cooking for the Lord. So each of these foodstuffs is going to have a different consciousness. The first is in the mode of ignorance, the second is in the mode of goodness, and the third is in the mode of pure transcendental goodness. It's transcendental. So like mother's love, like, yes, that's definitely good. It is good. You can eat that,
Potatoes.
It'll be good. But at a certain point, for the devotee, they'll say, I don't even want to eat that unless it's offered to Krishna. So in their mind, they'll offer it to their guru, to Krishna through their guru. In their mind, we don't make a big stink of, you have to offer. No, it's like, thank you so much. Thank you. You're feeding a Brahmana.
Potatoes.
I'll offer, whatever it is.
You can eat potatoes all the time though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Potatoes are Ekadasi friendly.
Hey, did you know that the first French fried potato was not cooked in France?
Yes.
It was cooked in Greece. Have I said that one already? I feel like I said that one already. No, I didn't.
Maybe in person. Yeah, Greek. Why don't we call them Greek potatoes then?
Dude, it's
right.
It's that corn. It's all the corn making me corny, telling corny jokes. It's coloring my conscience.
There you go. There it is.
Dude,
so
I'm done.
Okay. Well, let me try to just wrap this up and then we'll start the book. So you've got mode of ignorance, mode of passion. That's sinful consciousness. Like you will get sinful reactions from that, right? From eating that food, you will get sinful reactions. The mode of goodness, it's obviously not sinful. It's good. It's made with love. And so it will have a good effect, a positive effect physically, emotionally. But it's not in the mode of pure goodness because it's not Krishnaized or spiritualized. It's still material. It's not yet on the soul to soul level because a mother's love, as pure as that is, it's based on a bodily conception that you are my child, a product of my body, not a product of my soul, right? Only God is the producer in a sense. Like we are not products of anyone but God. So if we want to connect on the soul level, we have to go through the Lord. We have to go through Krishna. So we make offerings to Krishna, then we can all accept on like an equal level as his children, right? If we try to make offerings to each other, it's influenced by the bodily conception. If we're out of the bodily conception, it would make no sense to do that. It would make no sense for me to try to swaha to you, make an oblation unto Bhakti Jake. It's like if I want to give you the, the fruits of an oblation, I would make the offering to Krishna. Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam, right? I am the beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. So as pure as a mother's love is, it's colored by the modes because she doesn't understand that the child is not the beneficiary of the love. Krishna is the beneficiary of my love. Krishna is the one accepting it. And due to my relation and his relation with the super soul, the child's consciousness will be so affected that way, not from anything I do directly, right? We can't directly benefit other souls. That's a radical thought. That's a radical concept because everyone wants to think, no, I can benefit other people. I can love someone, and you can't tell me that God has to be in the picture of that. So, well, yes, I can. That's science. That's the reality. You think you're doing because you are affected by ahankara. Ahankara vibhuratma kartaham iti manyate. I think I'm the doer because I am bewildered by the false ego of my bodily conception. So for a devotee, they're getting off of the bodily conception. They're getting out of the modes. So they don't want to accept anything not offered to Krishna, and especially not anything cooked by a non-devotee. Something cooked by their mother, they will accept that. But something cooked in McDonald's, they will not accept that. But then there's also a level of kind of separation with grains, that a devotee will especially not accept grains cooked by a non-devotee because grains absorb more of the person's consciousness than any other foodstuff, grains and beans. Don't ask me why. I am not all-knowing, but God designed grains for the transferal of consciousness, and somehow or other, that's there. The grains apparently become semen in the man. That's like, talk about transfer of consciousness, So grains are very dense, in that sense. It's very dense food stuff. And for that reason, it's very sustaining for us. We like to eat grains and beans, but on Ekadasi, don't do it. Best to avoid, because it'll affect your consciousness very, a lot.
So what about tea? Can you drink tea?
Caffeinated tea?
Seems like a strange question. I know, but I like tea. I got some masala tea going. Is that cool?
On Ekadasi?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a grain.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been getting into teas, the medicine of teas.
Yeah. We don't drink caffeinated tea because that's considered an intoxicant. So if it's black tea, that'll have an effect on your consciousness, in a negative way, right? It's in the mode of passion. So that'll pull you down into the modes. If you drink or if you take intoxicants, it'll pull you into the modes, and it's like, well, what's wrong with that? Do you understand the effect of the modes of material nature? They pull you out of God consciousness. Very simple. Very, very simple. It's not, I'm not going to say it's wrong. You're free to do whatever you want with your body and your consciousness. Yes. Free will. No one's going to force you, not even God. Very wonderful thing I heard. This is a quote from C.S. Lewis. I can't quote verbatim, but the difference between heaven and hell, right? Because this Christian speaker, was asked by some college student, like, do you think I'm going to hell because I don't accept Jesus? And responded very nicely, because he didn't just come out and say, yeah, but he said, basically, God isn't going to force you to love him, right? He's not going to force you to be with him for all eternity. So if you don't want that, he's not going to force you, right? That's a very good answer. And he said that hell essentially means separation from God. That's the essential meaning of hell, right? Whether it's, I mean, and he even said that there's different descriptions in the Bible, of hell. Sometimes it's burning, generally, right? Fire, brimstone, but also like darkness, or forget the other one, like constriction, sort of like intense constriction, But he quoted C.S. Lewis to the effect of, in the end, like there's two types of people: those who, at the end, they say, one says to God, "Thy will be done," and the other, God says to them, "Thy will be done." Isn't that nice?
Mm. Yeah.
Does that make sense, Jake?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. C.S. Lewis, amazing, amazing, always amazing.
Yeah.
Very good guy
Yes,
too.
it's like, you can do what you want. And if that's what you want to do, then you do that. But as you were saying earlier on in the show, like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like there's something to that. Like Lord has a law. And it's not just that we follow it because, well, that's what the big man said, It's we follow that because we want to align our will with his, because we want to live eternally with him, not just because we're supposed to, because again, free will means we're not being forced, but because we actually love him. And how do we love him? We have to get to know him. How do we get to know him? We have to both hear about him and open our consciousness to receive the message. If we're just wallowing in the modes, if we're just eating grains and beans, whatever day of the week we damn want to, if it happens to be Ekadasi, I don't care. It's gonna.
What if you just kind of
What
like
if
you weren't 100% sure,
It's
you know?
okay.
And there's like corn everywhere, and there's people are off to you like, here you go, here you go. If you don't eat this, it's going straight to the hogs. What if it's, oh, okay, I guess I'll take it. You know, maybe I'll give it away to
might have to
someone.
burn in the lower planets, but hey,
Uh,
not that bad.
don't put that mojo on me.
I'm just kidding. No, Lord is infinitely compassionate. I mean, just think like where we're coming from, this movement has enough rules to bury each and every one of us, you know, well more than 6 feet under, you know what I'm saying? Um, you know, there's enough to bury. But so the point of the scripture, and this is every religion acknowledges this, or every real religion would acknowledge this. The purpose of the scriptures is not to bury you into like self-condemnation. The only one, this is another thing I've heard, is like the only one who condemns you is yourself. It's like judgment day, whatever that may be. It's not that God condemns you, it's that you have to look at your sins and then you decide if you're guilty. This is kind of like allegorical, right? We're not saying this is literal. But when we die, it's a fact that your consciousness will be brought to everything that you've gone through. And nothing's going to happen to you that in full consciousness you wouldn't admit guilt to. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
There you go with that. About grain, like eating. Oh yeah, like if we're so yeah, we're coming from a consciousness, and from how God knows how many lifetimes, even within this lifetime, you can either say many lifetimes, or even within this one lifetime, you can see like that kind of compounded interest of sin is there, you know. So the process of getting out of that, it's not about looking at all of the crap that you've done wrong. It's focusing on your potential to do right, and to transform yourself. That's a whole lot more interesting. You think God is so concerned about, all right, I understand you're chanting my names. I'm very pleased by that. But just look, like, you think I've forgotten about the past, 50 years of all of your nonsense? It's like, you think if a parent is forgiving of a small child as it's growing up, you think God wouldn't be forgiving when we're growing up? It doesn't make sense. That would mean God is less than or inferior to, us. She's obviously not. He's the supreme father, supreme mother. So yeah, the point is to try to learn both about God, as like we have the transcendental track, the Bhagavat Vidhi, which is just focus on Krishna, just absorb your mind in thoughts of God and understand him. And then we have the Vaidhi Vidhi, or the Panchrashka Vidhi, is another track of focusing on like, how can I adjust myself materially in order to absorb this better? Okay, I missed Ekadasi today, shame on me, whatever, over it. I'm over it. How can I move forward, learn from this, right?
Yeah. It just the whole concept of how much food affects your consciousness. I think that alone, I mean, we could probably spend two entire shows just talking about that, because it is so that profound. When you come to that knowledge, and to that real, when the light bulb goes on in your head that what you eat is having a profound effect on your consciousness, that's when things really start to change. So, okay, you take a guy like me that, okay, it's Ekadasi. I ate a bunch of sweet corn. I wasn't 100% sure. It's not so much that like I'm going straight to hell because of that. It's just the fact that from, you learn from your mistakes, and you at least know that that is going to affect your body in some way. Like everything you put in your body is going to affect it in some way. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, there's so much to that we could talk about, and just, I mean, oh my goodness. I remember when I was still eating meat, and just the wild, I was like, so, I was like a different person, man. Like I was violent. I was like a violent person when I was eating meat, and it was not good at all. It was really, really not good, you know. Um, and I don't know if that's something that goes along with eating meat, if that's like a thing about people who do eat meat. I have no idea, but I can say that I was definitely like that. Like we're talking like Viking level violence, like just like ah, you know, and just like, but also like I remember like having just this insane like thing in my mind, like I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to survive, like I'll kill anything, if it means that I'm gonna live. I had that mentality when I was eating meat. I mean
That's
that,
a carnivore animal mentality.
yeah,
It's not human mentality, that's animal mentality.
yeah,
Where else would that come from,
yeah, yeah. The meat has definitely got to go. Every day I find out more and more about uh, the effects of meat, and we're just not meant to eat it. We are just not meant to. God didn't create us to eat meat, to be meat eaters. And you know, I would I don't want to get into a big thing about it now, but we should
Nice thing to mention at the end of the show.
yeah, I mean, we I think
Here's
that
a real challenging statement to leave you with.
yeah, yeah. But I think that here we are, we're coming up to like almost 30 episodes of the show, and I can't really remember too many episodes that we've actually talked about food, or that we've actually talked about Ekadasi, or that we've actually talked about fasting, and or Ayurveda. I don't remember one single show where we've ever brought up Ayurveda.
We have, pretty
Have
sure there
we?
was an episode we talked about
Maybe
Ekadasi.
maybe a little, maybe a little. Well, when it comes to prasad, I guess, you know, yeah. Well,
Yeah, yeah, meat is another thing. I mean, again, it is a big topic,
yeah,
and it's not like you have to. Like I was talking with someone Lyft driving just Thursday, uh, and it was really interesting because he knew about the Hare Krishnas, and here's this guy like he's in a rough patch in life, you know, and he needs God's help, and he knows it. But he's like, you guys seem a little too fanatical for me, or whatever, like it's almost like he was saying, I would join you, but here are my, stipulations, sort of thing. What about this? Like, do I have to dress like you? Or like, do I have to shave my head? Do I have to give up eating meat? Like what about sex? Can I still do that? Like all these things, it's like, look, here's here's the bottom line. We do things um essentially for two reasons. First is we accept whatever is favorable to cultivating Krishna consciousness. And second is we reject whatever is unfavorable to cultivating Krishna consciousness. Right. So
yeah,
everything that we do is there. And so what's favorable for you right now is dressing a different way that doesn't make sense to you, that makes you feel uncomfortable. Is that going to be favorable for you? No. Do you think that's why we do it? No. Why would we do that? You know,
yeah,
but maybe there will come a point for someone when they realize that actually dressing in a dhoti is more favorable to my consciousness. Maybe there will come a point when you say, maybe not eating meat is more favorable to my consciousness, right? Maybe getting rid of, or not getting rid of, but separating or distancing myself from this toxic relationship will be favorable for my consciousness. Or conversely, remaining in this toxic relationship will be unfavorable, right? So meat eating is a sort of toxic relationship. You're having a toxic relationship with God at that point because you're slaughtering directly or indirectly. The karma is still there. You still get karma for that, for killing someone for your, sense pleasure. What to speak of all of the physical ailments that are associated with that? You know, what is pumped into those cattle? Just the conditions that they're living in, the consciousness of the people slaughtering them. That's like the lowest consciousness. They're just like torturing animals all day, and you want to eat that? um, there's ethical concerns, there's physical concerns, there's energetic concerns, there's spiritual concerns. There's very difficult to find any reason to continue doing it. But it's like if you're deep in that, it's not to condemn yourself. Like that's sense that like it's not helpful. Like it is condemnable, but what's the use of further condemning yourself for, you know, being just like everyone else in this age of just being a broken, you know, shell of a human. You know, we're all sinful. We all fall short. Like we're all very corrupted. This is the age of Kali. It's to be expected. So there's no sense in putting yourself down. It's like a man who's lying on the floor cannot fall down. It's like an aphorism. You can't fall down if you're already lying on the ground. What's the point in like, you should really be careful. You're gonna fall down. It's like you're already on the ground. Focus on getting up. And that getting up, it's a process. It's a process of refining your consciousness, developing a higher taste. It will come in time. It's not anything that you need to force out of, ethical. Well, I mean, ethical, yeah, you should definitely, you know, it's like there's the rod and the staff of God. One is to chastise you, the other is to lead you. So sometimes we need to chastise ourselves. Like if we know we're doing something wrong, it's like, come on, you should stop doing that. But on the other hand, it's like, well, what if I can't? Okay, well then there's the staff, then just try to follow, try to little bit improvements. That's the spiritual path. It's not like these profound, epiphanies every day and mountaintop experiences, right? It's just like, like Gandalf says, the little things, just like little victories, practically insignificant things to the rest of the world. It's like these hobbits aren't doing anything, but to him, it's like, no, like they're capable of doing the greatest thing just because they do the little things.
That's what Gandalf said. Gandalf, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was the other guy. That wasn't C.S. Lewis, right? That was
J.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, Tolkien. Yeah, they were buddies though, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. They went to Oxford together, didn't they?
I believe Oxford, either Oxford
Yeah,
or Cambridge. No,
Cambridge.
no,
Maybe
Cambridge, Massachusetts. Yeah, probably.
Oxford. Oxford. Never been there. Hopefully get to go there someday. Yeah. Yeah. I belong in Manchester though. I know that already. I'm a Mike. I'm too northern. Anyway, that is the time for the show today, and what a show it's been. Well,
I
Rebecca,
hope this was helpful.
it was extremely helpful, and we had a lot of fun too.
Okay.
Thank you, YouTube audience. Humbly, we thank you for watching our show. And like, subscribe, comment, please comment, put down comments, tell us how to eat right, or whatever your opinion on eating is. Talk to me about Oxford or Manchester, England. I will definitely respond to those. All right. Should we do the Maha Mantra 3 times?
Absolutely.
All right. You go ahead and lead us off, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All right. Thank you once again. And to our audience, Hare Bo.